she used the California law as background for...
Blake Lively is spiraling after a judge swatted down her latest courtroom stunt. What was meant to be a knockout move is now just another public meltdown.
Risk, and so it's not a fair fight. They're going into this with uneven risks.
Her new tactic? Hiding behind California's Me Too law to wriggle out of a defamation case she herself kicked off.
It looks...
Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds is in his own storm, accused of exploiting his 7-year-old daughter by forcing her to deliver a grotesque line in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Looking at his 7-year-old and being like, well, if you're not going to have what it takes to read this line, which happens to be about, Wolverine's penis, then I'll just go find another actor. Total sicko, the exact opposite.
At the heart of this Hollywood circus, sexual harassment claims, explosive countersuits, and a justice system trying to navigate a brand new law while A-listers cry victim with glam squads on standby.
Expectedly filed to be dismissed from the lawsuit against her. Her argument that she is presenting is that the lawsuit in and of itself is illegal, okay, because the matter at hand is pertaining to sexual harassment.
It all snowballed when California's new Me Too statute, Code of Civil Procedure 47.1, officially took effect on January 1st, 2020.
New law out here in California, Code of Civil Procedure 47.1, is a problem for the Baldoni camp.
How big of a problem?
That law? It's essentially golden armor for anyone who wants to lob allegations without fear of retaliation in court.
She wants the court to use California law. That's her argument. And every federal court has to deal with these conflict of law issues.
Blake's motion to dismiss Baldoni's countersuit leans entirely on that shiny shield. It's like handing someone a hall pass to smear your name, then locking the door when you try to defend yourself.
To believe that Justin Baldoni is the creep in all of this. This is running parallel to him shouting at Justin Baldoni in a penthouse about his wife.
And the burden it dumps on Baldoni is brutal. He doesn't just have to prove Blake lied. He has to prove she lied maliciously, knowingly, with intent. Try pulling that off when the statute itself practically legalizes gaslighting.
Relative to the lawsuit against Lively for defamation is a little problematic. So we have not seen the opposition yet that the Wayfair parties are going to make to the motion to dismiss filed by Lively, but I suspect that they're going to want New York over California law. We'll see what they do.
But is it valid, though, if the judge says, yes, you can use California law in this instance, could they dismiss his...
The stakes? If he loses, he doesn't just forfeit his reputation. He's on the hook for her legal fees, astronomical ones, plus punitive damages, maybe even triple damages. In short, his name, his wallet, his company, his future, gone.
The real problem for him and our concern for Baldoni is if he goes forward and he loses his countersuit based on defamation, there's a huge risk to him because he then has to pay Lively's attorney's fees, treble damages, punitive damages.
And here's the kicker. If Baldoni loses, he's not just ruined. He's financially gutted. He'd be writing checks for Blake's sky-high legal fees plus punitive and treble damages. The risk is catastrophic. And Blake's team? They're leaning on the most gaslighting argument imaginable. Baldoni himself said she believed her own story. Therefore, no malice. Translation, delusion is now a legal defense. Believe your own lie and suddenly you're innocent.
Need to prove a higher burden than he would otherwise have to prove in this defamation lawsuit. So he actually has to show that Blake Lively's, anything she said, any communication she made about SH, that they were made in malice. And so that's a higher standard that he has.
The public isn't falling for it. Everyone can see exactly what's going on. A Hollywood titan, not some powerless intern, is twisting laws meant to shield real victims into their personal armor. Statutes designed for the voiceless are now stage props for people with stylists, entourages, and multi-million-dollar sponsorships. The optics? Revolting. It's like watching someone stash their leftover champagne in a food bank pantry.
It's a problem that wouldn't be there if they had done this lawsuit a year and a half ago. So this is a brand new law. And what it does is it requires Baldoni to prove a higher burden than he would otherwise have to prove.
And if anyone deserves to be dragged harder than the rest, it's Ryan Reynolds. Yes, the internet's favorite quippy dad joke in human form. But peel back that glossy PR grin and you find something much uglier. Welcome to the pièce de résistance of delusion, the Deadpool dad disaster.
Look at the totality of that evidence and say, is that malice? And there's certainly evidence that would lead one to believe a jury.
Reynolds actually cast his 7-year-old daughter in the next Deadpool movie. 7. Because obviously a violent, raunchy superhero flick is exactly where a child should make her screen debut. But somehow, unbelievably, it gets worse.
Person, I don't care how funny you think you are in Hollywood, would want their precious daughter, of all people, to make comments about Hugh Jackman's penis being in their father.
One of her lines, a crude reference about Hugh Jackman's anatomy ending up in her father's mouth. No, that's not a parody I cooked up, that's the actual script. Naturally, the child refused. She's 7, she knows it's wrong. But instead of protecting her, Dad doubled down. His solution? Threatened to recast his own daughter. A family moment turned into a masterclass in parental blackmail.
To investigate any further, because there is no father in his right mind who would want a scene in which his daughter makes a, I guess, homosexual joke about the relationship between him and this Wolverine character who we're starting to have questions about their relationship.
He actually brags about this on tape, like it's some hilarious dad story, casually admitting to emotionally blackmailing his own child into delivering a sexual joke in a superhero movie. And then Sean Levy pipes up saying they made her do 70. Maybe 500 takes of that same line. 500. That's not directing. That's psychological torture masquerading as filmmaking.
Get other people to play
Yeah,
it.
but Ryan, to our discredit, we made Nezzy do, I'm not you, 70 to 500 versions of that line.
I'm gonna.
And here's where it turns grotesque. The same celebrity who built a brand on corny fatherhood, gags and hawking overpriced gin, is now labeling Justin Baldoni a predator while coercing his own daughter into mouthing vulgar lines about male anatomy on camera. The hypocrisy is so dense it deserves its own gravity. If irony had fists, Ryan Reynolds would be on the floor right now.
That's what he says. So he kind of basically forced his daughter to do the line, or else he's going to replace her as an actress in this movie. She's 7 years.
Then there's his infamous Rule 12b6 filing. Most motions like this are dry, procedural, forgettable, not Ryan's. His was venomous, swaggering, written like a late-night Twitter rant in legalese. It didn't resemble a brief. It read like a hit piece.
Dismissed at the 12b6 phase because Brian Friedman will be able to plead around by doing a second amended complaint, and he'll be able to outline, the claims of actual malice and that she wasn't reasonable when she reported this.
Honestly, it felt less like a defense and more like Reynolds himself cracking his knuckles at a keyboard, hell-bent on writing the nastiest, most self-righteous document ever submitted to a court. And he nailed it. This wasn't about dismissing a lawsuit. It was about publicly shaming Baldoni while the judge looked on.
Just unbelievable. He is admitting that she was not, Nezzy, as she is called, was not comfortable doing this line. And Ryan essentially said to her that I'm going to find another actor, which is...
When your Deadpool act bleeds into your parenting and your legal tactics, you stop being a role model. PR spin can try to polish it, but facts don't lie. Ryan Reynolds used his daughter as a punchline, turned a workplace feud into a public smear job, and weaponized his celebrity like a blunt instrument. Compared to him, his on-screen villains look like saints.
Points that a judge decides. Those are not legal determinations. Those are factual determinations. And we leave all of our factual decisions to a fact finder. In this case, that'll be a jury. So Brian Friedman more than likely will get past.
So no, Reynolds isn't the quirky underdog the internet adores. He's perched at the top of Hollywood's food chain, throwing elbows while hiding behind a smirk. And thanks to receipts, leaked audio, and a fed-up public, the mask is slipping. This is the smiling assassin of Hollywood, a man who built his empire on sarcasm, self-awareness, and trolling Hugh Jackman. Cute, right? Except off camera, the mask falls faster than his daughter's innocence did in that Deadpool debacle. His brand may sell gin and limp superhero movies, but behind the curtain, it's pure villain origin story.
Hey, when I want your opinion, I'll take Wolverine's out of your mouth.
That's kid.
Guiltily, that is my daughter,
I'm
Inez.
so sorry we have to admit that.
And I am Father of the Year over here for allowing her.
Because apparently the lovable funny guy evaporates once the cameras stop. Behind closed doors, Reynolds is reportedly unhinged, raging, manipulative, vindictive. Screaming fits in penthouses, whisper campaigns branding Baldoni a predator, Not in court, not in public, but in backroom chats with WME execs. He didn't say it because it was true. He said it because he could. Hollywood's high school cafeteria. And Ryan? He's Regina George with $1 billion wardrobe.
Statement, as contained in the allegations, is that he went and called Baldoni a predator. I mean, that is just such an over-the-top statement, and it does, just in its own right, seem...
And then there's the knife character. Oh yes, the sleazy, cartoonishly toxic figure Reynolds played in Deadpool. He later admitted it was modeled after Justin Baldoni. But relax, it's just art, right? Just satire. Just coincidence.
Deadpool scene, the nice pool scene in Deadpool would be relevant here. I think that backs up the whole idea of malice and what the intent was of Ryan Reynolds in the statements that he was making. Whether or not, you're not going to be able to get every little interview that Ryan Reynolds ever did where you try to kind of show that he's a bad character. A lot of that.
Except it's not. Because the same man he mocks in interviews, smears behind the scenes, and drags through legal filings just so happens to be the same man mirrored in his blockbuster parody. That's not meta. That's malice, with studio funding and a Marvel-sized budget.
This is what we call character evidence, and it's trying to impugn someone's character based upon their past acts in unrelated matters. But if it becomes a focal issue in the case, the judge will let certain evidence in so the jury can see.
Which brings us here. The jokes aren't jokes. The snark isn't satire. They're grudges wrapped in sarcasm, disguised as banter, paraded around as charm. Reynolds is the guy who throws a rock, hides his hand, then smirks for the camera like nothing happened.
He admitted, you're talking about Nice Pool, and now he admitted that Nice Pool was based on Justin Baldoni, which shows that that must be.
He doesn't just defend himself. He engineers whole narratives and skates away because everyone's busy retweeting his punchlines. Reynolds has been standing on the shoulders of industry power players for years. It's easy to punch down when your pals control casting, deals, and reputations. This stopped being celebrity drama a long time ago. Baldoni's team insists the New York Times didn't merely report. They allegedly co-authored the playbook, siding with Blake before a complaint was even filed. That's writing the Yelp review before you ever walk in the door. Emails, metadata, draft copies, the receipts are stacking up.